Good morning. So, yesterday, we did a little more work with, I did some more work with people on the power level increases and actually did a big, nice clear for the belief structures. So, interesting. And I got to work with someone. I thought it was interesting that they actually felt a little bit of pain when they did the heart-centered stuff, which is interesting. So, but the clear for the master list clear actually seemed to go pretty smoothly, so that was good. Yeah. Anyway, so I did a little more work around that. We did the power level work, and that was good. And it seems to be working, seems to be holding. I think it was interesting going from a person that has done zero clearing. It was a little bit trying to do the clear with the, okay, so let me back up. So we did financial clear. And on a financial clear, what we end up with is, it was basically we got it down, but it wasn't, we weren't able to completely and fully clear it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So when we did the percent clear, so we started with the master belief statements list, and then we cleared all of those the best we could, and then we after that we moved on to doing topic centered clear based on the percentage to kind of correct the flow of energy. And then after that, we did a raising on the power level. So, but we got the power level up to a 9, and we got the percent clear for financial down to a 7% block. So that was good, because in general, what we're trying to do is, I mean, obviously we want there to be 0% block and that power flow of at a 10 if we can do it. So I think what was happening, and it was interesting because we still had some remnants of percentage still blocked, and it almost shows that the power level can't be at a 10 when there's still something there. So that was kind of intriguing, because we're said, okay, so I mean, well, and before that I did one with someone, I think they were at a 1% when they started, and this is the person that does all the clearing like constantly, and so they had like a 1% block, and then when we cleared them for contracts, then it was 0. So it's kind of interesting in doing this work to see how these percentages come out, and actually it's very exciting because it's interesting to see the connection between the power levels. But when we did the health one, it was like 1% left blocked on it. We removed the contracts, and their power level was still like a 4 or 2. It wasn't 2, a 2. It was very low. But anyway, so it was interesting. It was like no more blocks, but no power level. Like power level's like in the toilet, you know. So it almost kind of shows, look, hey, yeah, I've got all this, but my power's still turned down. And I think typically when people are out there like aggressively working on something, I think that's what starts to build our power level up, because we get more and more belief in it. It becomes, second nature. So, like breathing. Like I was saying earlier, when you get to that, when you have that 10 ability, that's just so easy for you. It's so ridiculous. It's like you don't even think about it. It's natural. It comes naturally. And so, yeah, it was really cool to see that for somebody that's done crazy amounts of clearing, they could be in the same boat I was, with a super low power level in that particular area. And then you change it up and you check on the person that has 0 cleared, nothing, and then you drop them down with the batch clear off that master list, and then you drop them down from typically I think it was like 78 or some crazy, it was like way up there, percent block, and then bam, after the clearing, it's like they have what was it, like a 7%. It was low, way low, but the correlation there, though, interestingly enough, is having a power level of 10 wasn't possible because there was still 7% block there. But you have to be aware that there's other things that will, while you can remove the contract component, or you can close out those contracts, and you can do this huge batch clearing that covers most everything. But if there's still other stuff, because that list isn't going to cover those specific traumas and those specific issues that you had, it's not going to cover everything. So if you can start digging into the stuff that is there, like a abusive parent, or a traumatic situation at school, or you name it, maybe an event at work, or getting let go, or these types of things, the more that you can get that stuff gone, the better off you're going to be. But if you're still flatlined on your power level, what exactly does that help you manifest? I mean, I say manifest, but it's really about your power in the world, and it's about turning it up. Everybody says it's your power in the world, you can manifest anything you want. Probably not if you have a 2 power level. Probably not if you are absolutely emitting not much on that particular thing. So it's going to be so exciting to see this and how it all plays out. I'm really excited to see how this works, and it's cool to be able to do the muscle testing on people and see what's consistent and what's not, and what things pop up. But it was great. I was excited to finally have somebody that could muscle test, because it seems like everywhere I've been going lately, it's just one thing after the next about people that just can't seem to muscle test. And because you want people to be able to leave with a tool, not a hope and a prayer of, well, add minerals, maybe it'll work, add water, maybe it'll work. That gets a little bit frustrating, and it's almost like I've been kind of given this answer with this energy pH level issue, but it's most definitely not something you can necessarily do anything about while you're there. I could do an infusion of Reiki energy on someone, and I guess I haven't really tried that, and it might help them for a window of time. But if their bodies can't retain a charge, it's going to make it very difficult to do muscle testing. So that's a biggie, because the muscle testing is largely dependent on the electricity in the system that's going through the system. So if you don't have that, going through your system very well, then being able to muscle test is gonna, that could be kind of a challenge. And I love the Jerry Tennant work on the pH and voltage, and I think if anybody can get their paws on it, go out to YouTube and just watch some of his work, because it was so helpful understanding where some of the muscle testing fails, or potentially fails because of that. And so, I can't say what he said to do, but look it up and listen to him, because he's got several options there, and it's not just about buying his product, but I'm noticing the difference, because we tried applying some of the stuff that he suggested with my mom, and I've noticed some improvement there with her. We actually were able to do a little bit of muscle testing. It was still challenging, because every part of her body hurts, so it's a little tougher to do muscle testing when someone's physical anatomy is basically shot. You can do it for them, but that requires you to be there, or be around, or have time. And so it takes a little power away from them to be able to do the muscle testing. Brett Phillips had something that you could push down on, and again, that's great if you don't have an arthritic hand. Yeah, which is her boat. So it's like every avenue is for her. It's like the video 1. It's like a guy in a body and he can't talk. It's for her, it's like her body can't communicate, because every avenue for checking it, broken foot, can't really do the standing test, broken arthritic hands, it's almost impossible to get the finger tests to work. The only one that works, and bad neck, so we're talking shoulders, and that's a 2-person test, so why bother? I can muscle test for her. So it is possible. If you have a surrogate, somebody that's willing, and they can request to be connected to you so that they can do the testing, and then do the muscle testing for you, and that's fine. But there's still a chance, that you could, that person could have an opinion on something, and that can throw off the reading. So if somebody's helping you with your muscle testing, it's really important that you stay very neutral, and you really have to try to come at this with zero opinion on anything, just very open to answers that come in, and not have an opinion. Now, when somebody's trying to do it for themselves, it's a little different story. And I can say this because I've watched people that I know who are certain it's something, certain the answer is going to be a yes, and it's a no, and they're just baffled, because they're testing it for themselves. That there's that there's no implication of them tricking themselves because they're already going to be answering their own question. But when you have another person in the mix, it is a little bit more complicated because you really have to stay neutral and completely have no outcome interest in the outcome as much as possible. I haven't really seen it throw it off. I've seen a couple where they didn't come out right, but I will say in doing that, because we actually had a friend of mine help me test that once, and it was still about 95% or more accurate. I mean, it was really accurate, me doing it for them, but there was a couple that were off. So just know that when you go into it as a surrogate, there is going to be a percentage of those that are maybe not reading completely right. So it is possible, and there could be a number of reasons why that is. But just so you know, I mean, it is fairly accurate, but there might be some complications on it. So it's much better if you can get the person to do it themselves. So anyway. So yep, I finally got somebody that could do it, and I was very so relieved. I think I just took a big sigh. I was like, oh, she can vessel test. That's great. It's wonderful. Yay. And then it was fun because then you can, from there, it's just game on. It's so much fun because it's like, okay, let's start questioning, testing, and then changing it. And it was fun because, the person was a bit of a, they've got that critical thinker mind, or the critical thinking parent mind in the back of the head, and so it's like, oh, this isn't going to work. Wait, that just worked. What just happened there? And then, the belief of, oh, it takes forever. It's super hard to change something. It's very hard to change something. And I just smiled because I'm like, it's not. It's not hard to change this stuff. It's easier than you can believe. And, it really is. I mean, some things it takes longer, fine. And in some cases, who knows, maybe we have some kind of set agenda with our more whole, complete, divine self, our whole self, not that little fraction of it that's hanging out here, but, it may have its own little game plan. And I have no idea what that is, because it's very frustrating at times, but, so in some ways there may be some kind of a program that but some kind of a desire to do something specific, and so that's, is that a program? Maybe. I say program. I should probably explain the program concept. There is a lot of programming that happens when you get here, and half the time it's real hard to tell what's your own and what's other. Everything from TV programming to the school programs, and whatever you're taught, whatever society's agreements are, and all these other things of it is a little bit hard to try and discern between them. I think if you can just go inward into your center and try and get a feel for what feels right, that's usually a pretty good way to go. If you're centered in fear, it's probably going to take you down the wrong road. But if you're centered in a state of peace, and you can come to peace about a decision, then that's a good way to go. You can also muscle test for it, provided that, I've seen people muscle test for should I go or should I stay, kind of questions. And they're usually relieved to do whatever they land on, but there also is a lot of stuff buried in the subconscious mind that can play into that, so I don't know. That one I'm not quite decided on. I guess if you've done a ton of clearing and you're in a great place and you're not sure, and then you do that, then you're probably gonna do, it's probably the right decision to go by. A lot of this stuff is still up in the air. It's people are telling you they know everything about this stuff. I'm glad for them, but I'm not entirely sure I'd buy it. Clearing for allergies, that would be something. We've tried doing that for my son, and it's been a little bit challenging. I think we've made some headway, but in some ways we haven't. So That's something I'd like to jump into a little bit more, and there might even be classes for that. So I'll see what I can dig up, and then find ways to integrate pieces or parts of those things into this, and see if I can make it more effective. I like to retool things, so I'll take something that I think is pretty great, and then I'll retool the heck out of it, and then change it up, and just bring in a mixture of elements to make it, if I can, basically drop in a monster engine, and really build that puppy up and make it amazing. So that's what I enjoy doing. But anywho, I guess there's not much more to say here. I just was sharing some of the feedback from this week's meetings, and thought it was kind of cool. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's it. Most takeaway was related to the fact that the power level does seem to have a relation to the percentage block clearer, and that awesome the key of it being able to do that master clear list to really is a starting point, which is great, because it just kind of, like I've said before, it's like taking a pressure washer to a dirty straight, and you get all the mud off, and you can see exactly where your issues are. So it really does help getting all the little stuff out of there, so that you have a better idea of what's left. But anyway, so I think that's it. Everybody have a good one.